Welcome back to another video on algebra. It's been a long while since we pushed out a video on algebra, but today we'll be talking about an interesting concept called solving algebraic equations. So actually for this part of algebra, there are actually two subparts. So the first part is sort of expected of you. So you'll be solving simple algebraic equations, but there's also a second part, which is something you can use when you meet a difficult question sometimes to actually solve in a much more efficient manner. So we'll be discussing how we can do that later. So let's look at the simple part first. So to solve an algebraic equation, what do we need? We need an equation, obviously, with our unknowns inside. So once we have this equation, we also need information about the unknown and its relationship with other terms, like how it interacts with the other constants, the other variables. So with all this information, we can actually start solving our equation. So let's look at our first example. 4 tables and 3 chairs cost $41. 1 table and 1 chair costs X dollars. So find the cost of 1 table in terms of X. So okay, what do we know at first? 1 table and 1 chair costs X dollars. So 3 tables and 3 chairs actually cost 3X dollars. And why are we doing this? It's actually because we also have the information of 4 tables and 3 chairs cost. So actually, if we look at it in another way, the difference between $41 and 3X dollars is the difference between 4 tables and 3 chairs and 3 tables and 3 chairs. So the difference actually accounts for the cost of 1 table. So we can actually use this information to our knowledge and solve the cost of 1 table. So at first it may actually be quite difficult to actually form the equations with the information given, because you may not know which direction you want to go in, but with practice this will become quite natural. So next, this is the part where actually sometimes in more tricky questions that require more advanced knowledge on other topics, you can also actually use algebra to aid you in your understanding and solving of the question. So let's say in 2019, the average number of boys in an enrichment class was 28. In 2020, 5 new enrichment classes of 37 boys each were added to the school. The average number of boys in all the classes increased to 33. So find the total number of boys enrolled in the school for the year 2020. So okay, first let's actually break down what we know, since this question is quite long. So first, we know that average number of boys equals to total number of boys divided by the total number of classes. So this is prerequisite knowledge from what the term average means. And we also know that throughout the question, they didn't tell you how many enrichment classes there are. They just told you how many average number of people there are in each class. So how do we actually solve this question? As mentioned, the number of enrichment classes is unknown, so we can assign it an X. So let the number of enrichment classes in 2019 be X. And note here that I specifically stated 2019 because in 2020, 5 more classes were added. So if you want to let X be the number of enrichment classes in 2020, 2019 will be X minus 5, which is quite tricky when you are actually expanding the equation. So with our unknown now, we can find the total number of boys in 2019 in terms of X. So since there are average of 28 enrichment classes, average of 28 boys in each enrichment class, the total number of boys is the product of 28 and the number of enrichment classes, which is 28x. So the total number of boys in 2020, as mentioned, is 28x, plus 37 times 5. Why 37 times 5? Because 5 classes of 37 boys were added in 2020. Alright, so our next piece of information, the average number of boys in all the classes increased to 33. So, how do we actually use this information to help us solve our question and find the total number of boys enrolled in the school for the year 2020? Okay, so first, we make use of this fact that the total number of enrichment classes in 2020 increased from x to x plus 5. So next, we can also use a simple basic knowledge to actually solve for x. Because once we solve for x, we know how many boys there are. So, the average number of boys in 2020 as stated in the question is 33. So, with that, we actually see a relationship here. The total number of boys in 2020, as found just now, divided by the total number of classes in 2020 gives us 33. So what we need to do right now to solve for x is manipulate the equation and multiply both sides by x plus 5 to actually get this equation here. And then we can expand the equation to actually get our answer for x. And with our answer for x, we can find the total number of boys enrolled in the school for the year 2020. How do we do that? We substitute in our 28x plus 185, where x equals to 4. And then we can actually punch this into a calculator and we can get our answer. Let's look at another example. So this is a more advanced one too. So the sum of first consecutive or 5 consecutive odd numbers is 265. So what is the sum of the largest number and twice the smallest number? So for this, we have to tap on another field of knowledge. Okay, so usually when we're talking about an unknown odd number, we would like to give the term 2k, where k is any whole number. Because why? If you say the number is k, it can be 1, it can be 3. So you can't state that k is any whole number. But as long as k is multiplied by 2, it will be even. Because any even number is divisible by 2. So with our knowledge on what an unknown even number is, we can actually get our odd number, which is 2k plus 1. Okay, so next, let's look at the pattern here. Consecutive odd numbers from 1 to 3 to 5 to 7 plus 9 to 11. What is common here is that they advance in increments of 2. So with this knowledge, let's say our 1 is 2k plus 1. So our 3 will be 2k plus 1 plus 2. And our 5 will be 2k plus 1 plus 2 plus 2. So with that, we can get actually our sequence. And next, to find what k is, we need to find the sum. Why the sum? Because we know that the sum of 5 consecutive odd numbers is 265. So we actually add the numbers together, and then we get 265. And with that, we can actually form it into an equation because the two are equivalent. So 10k plus 25 is equivalent to 265, and we can solve for k. So in this case, k equals to 24. And with that, we can actually find our answer, which is 155. So what we just need to do is to sum this up, largest number and 2 times the smallest number, which is written here. And after that, we substitute what k is into the equation. So k is 24 here, and we get 155. And that's the answer. So if this video is quite complicated at this point, you can try to rewatch it, or you can also try to identify some questions in which you can use letting x be your unknown as a method to solve it. And Trust me, it will greatly help in exams.